What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome into a Friday morning episode of the Daily Juice Podcast. My name is Matt Perrault. You guys can follow me across all of my socials at Sports Talk Matt. And this podcast being brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. All right. Winning Tuesday, winning Wednesday, winning Thursday. 3 consecutive winning days for us here. Very good week going for the Daily Juice. We get everything in the football game right except for Denver +3 and Cortland Sutton over. He got 50 yards. Didn't go over 61.5, unfortunately, but the teaser did hit. So if you bet the teaser, that made up for the Denver +3. The over comes in easily. Bo Nix goes over his rushing. Ladd McConkey flies over his receiving yardage. And the Magic win on the hook. We were lucky there with the Magic on the hook. They lost by 6. They covered the 6.5 point line. And we go 4-2 on the day, up 1.35 units on the day. So 4-2, we'll take it. 2-1, 2-1, 4-2 over the last 3 days. Okay. The college football playoffs begin tonight. I'm only going to bet the college football playoff game. That's it. Why? Because tomorrow, Saturday, has the potential to be one of the biggest betting days of the last decade. I mean, we have 3 college football playoff games. We have 2 massive NFL games. We have all NBA, we have all college basketball, we have all the NHL, and we have a heavyweight fight at 6 p.m. Eastern time, the heavyweight championship of the world between Usyk and Tyson Fury. So I'm going light. 2 bets for us here today on a Friday. That's it. Because tomorrow is going to be our last major card of 2024. We're talking 6 plays probably coming at you tomorrow on Saturday's Daily Juice podcast. So light today. Make sure you listen tomorrow and watch tomorrow because it's going to be a gigantic day for betting on Saturday, the last Saturday before Christmas. This podcast is being brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. New players, you go download the DraftKings Pick 6 and use juice at signup. You play $5, you get $50 instantly in Pick 6 credits. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. 18 plus in most eligible jurisdictions, but other age and eligibility restrictions may apply. Valid only in jurisdictions where DraftKings Pick 6 operates. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including but not limited to New York and Canada. Void where prohibited. For terms, go to pick6.draftkings.com/promos. All right, let's talk about Indiana on the road at Notre Dame. Most books are at 7. FanDuel's at 7.5. I want 7.5. Here is why. When you look at Indiana and you look at their schedule as to who they played, it is not impressive to me. I've said publicly, I do not believe Indiana belongs in the playoff. But they got a tremendously favorable matchup taking on their in-state rival in Notre Dame. It's a rivalry game. This is going to be a lot of Notre Dame, obviously. They're at home, but there'll be Indiana red in that building. 100%. There will be Hoosier fans in that building. You have a 9-3 ATS team for Indiana against a 9-2-1 ATS team for Notre Dame. The Irish have covered 7 straight games. The Irish have won every game this year but one. The game they lost was at home to Northern Illinois, a team they paid $1.5 million to walk in there and beat them. Home wins this year for Notre Dame. They beat Miami of Ohio, didn't cover. They beat Louisville, didn't cover. They beat Florida State, they covered. They beat Virginia, they covered. They played Stanford, and they covered. But a home schedule of Northern Illinois, Louisville, Miami of Ohio, Stanford, Florida State, and Virginia? Are you impressed by that? Because I'm not. I've been pretty negative on Indiana but it kind of saved my negativity on the Irish as well. Now, Notre Dame played really well down the stretch. They won by 42, 18, 37, 49, 21, 35, and 14. They killed everybody they played. So that's very impressive. You can't get away from that. However, Indiana on the road played at Ohio State in their last road game, and they got killed. But I think they learned a little bit about playing on the road. I think they learned a little bit about what it's going to take to win away from home. They beat Michigan State on the road. They beat Northwestern on the road, and they beat UCLA on the road. In fact, they covered in all those games. They did not cover against Ohio State. They were catching 10.5, and they lost by 23. I believe Ohio State is way better than Notre Dame. And I don't think Indiana is going to be intimidated about walking in here. And I do think that Indiana's speed of play here could come in to play, could really factor in with this. Couple of things. Indiana is a team that I think could get off to a really fast start. So I think Indiana might be up after the first quarter. Indiana might be up at half. I just think that Notre Dame's offense is good enough to come back against Indiana. And if the Hoosiers get up, I still think the Irish will win this game and they will advance. But I think 7 is the right number. I think Notre Dame by 7 is the correct play. Once you give me the hook, even at minus 120, I think that's the right move. It's to take the dog at plus 7.5 here against Notre Dame. FanDuel's got it tonight at minus 120. You're paying a little extra juice for it, but I think it's worth it. It's the number 2 and number 3 rated scoring offenses in college football facing off against each other, against the number 3 and number 6 scoring defenses in college football. But again, it comes back to who they have played. 4.4 yards per play overall for the Irish. That's 5th best in college football. For Indiana, 4.1. That's 3rd best in college football. They're number 2 against the run, giving up just 2.6 yards per rush. The Irish are number 2 in college football, running the football, including their quarterback, at 6.3 yards per rush. Indiana throws the ball 4.2 yards. Sorry, they're running about 4.2 yards per rush. That's 71st. Irish give up 3.7. That's 29th. Indiana, top 5 passing offense, 9.2 yards per pass play, 5th against the Irish, 5.6 yards given up defensively. That's number 2. Throwing the ball, Irish, 7.2 yards, 65th, up against the 9th best, 5.8 yards per pass play given up for Indiana. I mean, a lot of this is strength on strength here. A lot of these teams, they kind of mimic each other in a lot of ways. Indiana is 5th in turnover margin. That probably determines the football game. The Irish, they're 2nd in turnover margin. I mean, 1.1 to 1.3. Be on the plus side for turnovers. Takeaways, taking the ball away about 2.3 times per game. That's 3rd best in the country for Notre Dame. 1.8 takeaways for the Indiana Hoosiers. That's 21st best in the country. They force turnovers. They're very similar teams. I think both the Irish and Notre Dame, I think the Irish could blow out Indiana. I do. But I actually think Indiana may get off to a fast start here, and then the Irish come back. I think Notre Dame wins the game. Indiana plus 7.5 is the bet at 1.2 units. I think Indiana's going to hang around. I think they could get up, like I mentioned. Irish come back, use the home crowd. Notre Dame wins. But I think Notre Dame doesn't cover. Enough that I'm going to bet it. Indiana plus 7.5 for 1.2 units. Bet number 2, same game. We're going to stay with the total at 52. 9-3 Indiana to the over this year, including 4-0 away from home to the over. The Irish 7-5. But 7-3 over their last 10 games and 4-1 to the over their last 5. Against USC, over by 31 points. Against Army, 18 points. Their last home game was an under against Virginia, but they scored 35 points. Went under by 2 points. It was 35-14. But Florida State, it was 44. It flew over by 11. On the flip side, against Ohio State, Indiana lost the game 38-15. Game went over, 52. same score as this one. 1 point over, landed 53. On the road against Michigan State, 53.5, 47-10. Game went over. Against Northwestern, 40.5, over by 24.5. Even against UCLA, 42-13, 47 total, went over by 8 points. At home, the Irish, 3-3 to the over. However, 4-1 over their last 5 and 7-3 over their last 10. Like I mentioned, they opened up 3 of their first 4 games to the under, and then overs. Only 2 games after that went under on a neutral against Georgia Tech, 33-13, went under by 5.5 points, and the Virginia game, they went under by 2 points. So it was right there, just 1 score away from going over. I'm going to play the over. Indiana, Notre Dame, over 52. And I know it's a playoff game. I know we're looking at weather here. I don't think it's going to matter to Indiana, okay? I don't think they care about the temperature. It's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 32 degrees, down to 22 degrees by the end of the game. Snow flurries are in the forecast, but nothing too crazy. It's, you're probably going to get about, a dusting, if anything, but the wind is what we care about. 8-mile-per-hour winds. As we say, don't bet the wet, bet the wind. There's no wind. Over 52, Indiana and Notre Dame. All right, that's it for today here on a Friday. Monster schedule tomorrow. Monster schedule. For tonight on a Friday, Indiana plus 7.5 for 1.2 units and over 52 for Notre Dame and Indiana for 1.1 units here on a Friday. My name is Matt Perrault. Follow me across all socials at Sports Talk Matt. Every morning, it's the Daily Juice Podcast, presented by DraftKings.